Good morning to you all. I'm here on behalf of Public Prosecutors Portuguese Union, and first I'd like to express my gratitude to the President of Prosecutors Association of Serbia, Lidija Nikolic, for a kind invitation. I would also like to greet the other members of the panel and all the people in the room. The issue of prosecutorial independence and undue interference are of particular concern. It is crucial to emphasize that the autonomy of the Public Prosecutor's Office is essential for ensuring judicial independence. Prosecutors must act impartially, guided solely by the law, and the evidence produced in proceedings and in Portugal. We are completely independent from government during the proceedings. The investigation phase, we act as judicial authority. For instance, we can issue European arrest warrants. However, undue influence, whether political, economic, or internal, has the potential to result in biased decisions, wrongful prosecutions, or selective enforcement. Such actions have the potential to compromise the principles of justice and public trust in the judicial system. There are examples of unwarranted intervention can manifest in various ways, ranging from overt political coercion to more insidious internal condition. Examples of external interference include political pressure, which is the exertion of influence by government officials or politicians for political gain or to protect allies. And actually, this is the most common one. The influence of the media is a significant factor in this context. High-profile cases can lead to stigmatization, leaks, and defamation, which may hinder prosecutors' autonomy. Threats and intimidation have also been observed. Harassment or violence designated to interfere with the work of the prosecuting authority. Improper disciplinary measures, the utilization of internal discipline to sanction prosecutors for decisions made in good faith is a contentious issue, and as you will see in my presentation, it happened more than one time in Portugal. Internal interference is frequently the most insidious form of interference, as it can be disguised as either guidance or advice. The distinction between appropriate oversight and unwarranted interference can be tenuous at best. External peer pressure in practice. In several countries, it is evident that in cases involving politicians or influential economic interests, attempts are frequently made to discredit prosecutors or influence outcomes. In Portugal, several cases illustrate these pressures, which are often amplified by media leaks and political reactions. The following examples I will present to you, it's drawn from the Portuguese judicial history. The Casa Pia case. This case involved a network of child sexual abuse within a state institution. The investigation revealed connections to prominent public figures, resulting in significant political and media attention. It has been alleged that the government at the time attempted to amend the statutes governing magistrates, which some interpret as pressure on the judiciary. And at the time, and this was particularly serious, there was a change in law stating that instead of a crime for each situation, there will be a crime for each victim. Nowadays, because of the courts and everything else that happened since there, we got back to what it was before. It was this change of law, it was like a tailor-made change. Sensationalist media coverage created an atmosphere of rigorous scrutiny, and reports of internal interference within the judicial police, that we have a judicial police that work with us, were documented, resulting in the initiation of disciplinary proceedings that were subsequently terminated. Actually, one of the deputy directors put in question if we should be or not be fulfill some arrested warrants. Submarine case. We had one case regarding the acquisition of submarines. It was focused on the investigation into corruption surrounding the procurement of submarines from a German consortium in 2004. This investigation is known as the submarines, and his child was the Offsets case. It has been alleged that 27 million euros was spent on bribes and exerting undue influence, with talks with public prosecutors that were in the case. The disappearance of the documents from the Minister of Defense is a matter of significant controversy. Actually, when there was supposed to be search warrants in the Minister of Defense, there were supposed to be some documents there regarding this subject. When they get there, there was only 2 bottles of detergent and no documents. This led to suggestions that attempts have been made to obstruct justice. Despite the conviction of German executives in Germany, no charges were brought against Portuguese political figures. Candida Almeida, at the time head of the CIAP, which is the Central Investigation Department, stated that she had been pressured in television, she said this, although she did not elaborate on the nature of the pressure. In addition, the 3 public prosecutors, including her, the head of the CIAP, face disciplinary proceedings. The aforementioned events have collectively engendered a perception of political and media interference in the investigation. Then there was the Freeport case. Is an investigation was to ascertain the veracity of claims relating to the corruption of officials involving in approving a big emprendement, the Freeport outlet. Shortly before 2002 elections, amendments were made to an environmental protection zone. The case attracted significant attention due to alleged involvement of the Minister of the Environment at the time, José Sócrates. There were clear endeavors to exert pressure on the prosecutors. Actually, this time, one individual, a public prosecutor too, was suspended for 30 days for attempting to influence the CIAP team. It was also determined that cyber intrusion attempts had been detected in the public prosecutor's system. Also in this case, all the three public prosecutors, including, again, the head of CIAP, faced disciplinary proceedings. Operation Marquis, this case is of particular significance with the Portuguese legal system due to its high profile and complexity. It involves former Prime Minister José Sócrates and allegations of corruption, fraud, and money laundering. The case has attracted a great deal of political and media criticism, although no direct interference has been proven. The defendants publicly accused the Public Prosecutor's Office of political persecution and bias, and the prevailing conditions of perpetual public observation engender an atmosphere characterized by mounting pressure and tension for prosecutors. As he was a former Prime Minister, there were a lot of people at this case talking every day about public prosecutors for months and saying everything what was wrong, which it wasn't. Political and media pressure. All of the aforementioned cases exhibit a similar pattern. During its investigations into powerful political business figures, the Public Prosecutor's Office has faced an intensification of political and media reactions. Critics have asserted that prosecutors are interfering in politics. This argument is then used to advocate legal reforms set to weaken prosecutorial autonomy. The Manifesto of the 50 is an example of the efforts being made to discredit the justice system and advocate greater political control over the prosecution service. Actually, these are 50 people who get together and write a letter saying everything that was wrong in the public prosecutors and that should be changed. And time to time, they get another 50 people there. Actually, many of them already face problems with the public prosecutor's office, or they're related with people who face charges. An examination for the big problem with them is they have access, not problem, but they access to media, they are commentators, they are politicians, so they talk almost, there was a time that was almost every day. An examination of the mechanisms through which undue influence exerts its effects is in the Portuguese legal system. The application of technological means to alter or manipulate media content, presenting isolated cases, is a way of highlighting inefficiencies or excesses within the justice system. Public discourse, it has been asserted that critics repeatedly use media platforms to advocate for reform, despite their true objective being to exercise control over an independently functioning institution. The concept of civil society, which is used there, sometimes has been identified as a significant source of pressure. The term modernization is often used to hide attempts to restrict prosecutorial autonomy and re-establish political supremacy. In reality, when the Public Prosecutor's Office investigates sensitive sectors, demands for system reforms also increase, not with the aim of improving justice, but of curbing autonomy. Safeguards against interference. To ensure the preservation of prosecutorial independence, a number of mechanisms must be put in place. As Maria Rosario already noticed, the concept of functional immunity is defined as follows. Prosecutors must not be subject to retribution for decisions that are in accordance with the law, and, importantly, self-governing bodies. The management of careers and discipline must be conducted independently. Also, the establishment of clear hierarchical safeguards is of paramount importance. Mechanisms must be established to challenge instructions deemed unethical or illegal. Limiting executive power is essential in a democratic society, as is ensuring that the government cannot control prosecutorial decisions. The significance of independence in the context of prosecutorial autonomy. The purpose of this guarantee is to ensure the effective functioning of the justice system and rule of law. Preventing abuse of power and violations of human rights is of paramount importance. Decisions must be made in accordance with the principles of legality and empirical evidence rather than being influenced by extraneous factors. The justice system's primary function is to maintain public confidence in its fairness and impartiality. Without independence, the concept of justice becomes arbitrary and accountability becomes non-existent. In conclusion, political attacks and orchestrated media campaigns against judges and prosecutors are clearly intended to undermine public trust in the justice system and gain control over ongoing investigations. The assertion that enhanced political control would result in improved efficiency in the administration of justice is a fallacy. This assertion is a stratagem designed to provide immunity to the influential and weaken the principle of equality before the law. The autonomy and independence of the public prosecutor's office should not be considered privileged, but rather essential guarantees of true democratic rule of law. And because someone already sentenced, because in the end, judges, the courts, can only rule cases investigated and presented by public prosecutors. Thank you so much. Hope you like.